banquet, but welcome to the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce annual banquet. We're glad you all could be here. The first order of business that I need to attend to tonight is to introduce my wife, Gwen. I didn't even need my mother to remind me. Okay, I'd like to also say welcome to those viewers viewing tonight's banquet on FPAC Channel, 9? Welcome. I want to give a special welcome to Roy Eubanks. He's getting kind of old and doesn't get out after dark very often anymore, so this FPAC is his lifeline. And I know I'll hear about that. Okay, the second most important order of business is to eat. So listen up for the directions, and you're probably not too surprised, but the head table gets to go first. And everybody, we're going to go through the second set of doors on the side, out into the pool area, get your food, and come back in through the doors in the back there. So that's the way the traffic flow needs to go. We'll start with the head table. Start with the staff table. They work real hard getting ready for the banquet, so they get to eat near the beginning of the line. Move across the front with the sponsored tables, and then go back to the next row and work our way back and just zigzag to the back of the room. And somebody's got to be last. So enjoy your meal. Out what's been going on in town and celebrate the accomplishments of the past year. I'm not supposed to touch that, I guess. I'm going to try to avoid doing something with me and microphones. Okay, well, I'd like to recognize some of our visitors with us tonight. You'll be hearing from most everybody on the head table, and I'll leave it up to them to introduce their wives if they don't get introduced otherwise. Don't forget, Bob. And welcome to our state representative, John Whitaker's with us tonight. I think he heard there was going to be a drawing tonight. Maybe I shouldn't talk about gambling, right? Okay, we'll leave that alone. Well, I'd also like to thank our sponsors. There, most of them are at the front tables. That's the trick, people in the back. If you want to sit up front, you have to sponsor a table. It's that simple. But they're printed on your back of your program: Midwest One Bank, First National Bank. Well, I better skip the concrete and go to the other bank just to be fair. Iowa State Bank and Trust, Ideal Concrete, Ready Mix, and Hy-Vee. Thank you to all of you for sponsoring your tables. It's too bad. Scott, you didn't let the rest of the people off so they could sit at your table. Is that the deal? Out there slaving away. Well, I'd also like to recognize and thank our chamber ambassadors for being here and greeting us as we come in tonight. Thank you to the ambassadors for all they do. And by the way, how do you like my coat? You know, when you wear a red coat, you really get noticed. That's something I found out. The first time I wore this coat, I figured that out. You know, I went to pick it up at the clothing store, and it didn't fit quite right, I didn't think. And so I asked him if he could make a few adjustments. So he stood me up in front of the mirror, you know, like they do. And I said, you know, it seems like one of these sleeves, my right sleeve is a little bit too short. And so, you know, he put his hands on my shoulders, and he said, there. Is that better? Yeah, I think they're about even now. And I said, you know, really, I think you need to take it a little in here. I'm not quite as heavy as some people, and it seems a little funny. And so he said, there, how's that? I said, yeah, I think this feels better. Well, now, I also bought a pair of pants. I didn't get the red ones like Dave Neff did, but I said, you know, these pants feel a little bit loose. I think you need to take them in a little bit. Well, and he said, well, hold your arms like this. Yeah, I think that's better. So I walked out of there feeling like I'd had a pretty nice fitting jacket, you know. sidewalk, and I passed these two little old ladies, and I overheard one of them say, "Oh my, that man sure is crippled." And the other lady said, "I didn't notice his jacket fits so well." So when you wear a red jacket, you really get noticed. Now, the way I figure, I'm about third choice to do this job. I think they probably asked Warren Wexler first. But, well, I get Dave Reef's here, so I think Warren is off at Purina filming a commercial with my friend Flicka. So he was off the list. So that I moved up a notch, but that's, well, Jay Silverman. I mean, who can replace Jay Silverman? Well, Jay's retired, and he's moving to a home in Oregon, so he's not available. So that's how I get to be up here before you tonight. And moving right along. Now, Craig Foss. Craig Foss is up first with a report from the Fairfield Economic Development Association. And of course, this always is very brief because they can't tell us anything.
Thanks, Jim. Yes, I'm here again tonight to tell you nothing. Actually, 2005 was a very, very good year for FEDA and for economic activity in the Fairfield area. If you just look around, look at the brochure, the tabloid tonight, it gives you a number of examples of some good positive things that have happened in the Fairfield area. Millions of dollars have been spent, invested in new facilities and new equipment, as well as the purchase of existing buildings. Some of those players and businesses would include the Cambridge Investment Group, of course, with their new facility, Anderson Tooling. They purchased the former Loudon site. Wimco Tank is a business from Ottumwa that has now relocated some of or expanded their operation and is renting some space from Anderson Tooling and the old Loudon site. Agri-Industrial Plastics had a major addition with a major investment in some new equipment. And then FEDA, as part of our industrial development, where you normally think of an economic development group as making things. Well, we completed our destruction of the Iowa Malleable site, so we're very proud of destroying something. 2006 looks to be an even more exciting year, and Fairfield Economic Development Association recognizes that even with all of the positive things that have happened in 2005, that there's still a lot of work to do. There are many opportunities out there for economic development and growth in the Fairfield area, and FEDA, as it is entering its the second 25 years of its existence, is refocusing itself. In the past, FEDA had been more of a reactive type of organization, concentrating on economic development in the more traditional ways. Well, in the second 25 years, the FEDA board has pledged itself to adopt a new marketing plan, and FEDA is going to become proactive. FEDA, we're in the process of expanding our membership base. We've just adopted a new marketing plan, and as many of you know, Bob Phipps is retiring the end of March. So when a new director comes on board, we're going to look to this new director for assistance in putting the marketing plan into effect. The economic development today is much different than it was 25 years ago when FEDA was first organized, and FEDA recognizes that we have to adjust with the times, and of course the community of Fairfield will adjust with the times. Probably the most exciting thing to happen in 2006 is an event that'll be officially announced tomorrow. There'll be a press conference, and this press conference, the information will be given about a new state-of-the-art biodiesel business that's coming to Fairfield. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce to you Dan Leach of PowerShift Energy. Dan is here with representatives of his business, and I'd like all of you to give Dan a good welcome to Fairfield. FEDA is extremely excited about this. We've had, it's been great working with Dan and his group. It's very exciting for the community. It's going to give Fairfield a new look and get Fairfield into a business arena that we haven't been part of in the past. And obviously it's an area that is becoming more and more cutting edge, and it's a leading business growth area at the present time. Would like to also mention to you, maybe some of you have seen in the paper or heard on the news, on the radio with Emily, that there will be a public meeting tomorrow evening in this room here at the Best Western, public meeting when Dan and his associates will provide details concerning the project, including the schedule, the development schedule, community as well as economic impact, and other information concerning the project. So all in all, from the perspective of the Fairfield Economic Development Association, Fairfield is a community that is on the move. Fairfield has positioned itself for a bright future. There's a lot of hard work left to be done, and we need the support of all of you to help Fairfield continue to grow, but we're really on the edge of some major growth and some major development in this community. I'm really excited about it, and I hope that all of you are too. In closing, I would like to thank the board members of the Fairfield Economic Development Association, as well as the chamber staff, Jody, who's new to the chamber, Sally Chandler, who worked with the chamber office for most of the year 2005, and of course Nancy Morrissey. The FEDA board members would include Pat Doyle, who's vice president, Dick Smith, Royce Huff, Dave Reef, Ross Walker, Pat Albrechts, and then some ex officio members that would include Mayor Ed Malloy, Tom Thompson, and John Morrissey. I would also like to, in closing, give special thanks to Pete Nelson. In 2005, Pete retired from the FEDA board, and in my letter that's included in a brochure, I spoke a little more details about Pete. Pete is, of course, a businessman, an entrepreneur here in Fairfield. Pete developed his business, and it's a very well-established business in town. Pete also is an individual who gave to the community and continues to give to the community. He spent countless hours as a board member of FEDA, volunteering his time, volunteering his plane, transporting people around. Pete was the kind of guy that if you had a project that needed to be done, that FEDA needed to have done, he was the one that put his hand up and say, I'll take care of that. And probably one of his final projects was overseeing the cleanup, the demolition of the buildings at the Iowa Malleable site and the subsequent cleanup of that facility. And he volunteered his time doing that, and I think all of us owe Pete a great deal of gratitude for that. So looking forward to a good year. Thanks.
Thank you, Craig. We're glad to get some news from FEDA for a change. That's great news. And we're looking forward to all the details on that press conference tomorrow. Now here to present a report from our Convention and Visitors Bureau is Mr. Fairfield and Mr. Enthusiasm, Dave Neff.
Jim really likes to get into his stories, and I just didn't want him to look like that all the rest of the evening. I was walking back in, he said something about Dave Neff and white pants, was it?
Red pants.
Or red pants, okay.
I know you bought some at Walmart last time.
That's right, that's right. You got to support those who come to town and come to visit. So, speaking of visiting, a year ago I stood before you not knowing where we were going to be at this time in 2006. And so I'd like to give you a brief report. I promise to keep it short. If 5 minutes elapses, the bell goes off, the cuckoo comes out and says, sit down, sit down, sit down. So we'll get started. Lucy Ismer, you've all met. I think the opportunity has been there for you. Our opportunity has really grown to the point of a state award in our first year. First Friday Art Walk received an Iowa Tourism Event of the Year. This is for small communities, but that's the size community we are. And we got a first place award for the Iowa Tourism Board for that. MUM Tourism Award, Last year we had some basic pieces put together. This year on your table, if you haven't seen them, please feel free to take one along. You have a visitor's guide. There are people who have lived here for 25 years and read this, and they go, I didn't know that happened in Fairfield. And then we put together for the first year a calendar that will be every 6 months. It will eventually move into a one-year calendar once all of our participants, once our stakeholders step up and realize you need to plan more than 3 months in advance. You've got to have a long-term plan in order to get recognition with this group. What else did we do? Creative travel shows were presented. State tourism booth at the state sports show, Central Iowa tourism booth, Eastern Iowa booth at the state fair. So recognition, we're right on the borderline. We are in Eastern Iowa, Ottumwa is in Central Iowa. So we've decided we're going to join both of these organizations so we get recognition in both areas. Direct trade show, she's on the road. In fact, she was here, gone for 2 weeks, here this week and then gone next week. But National Tour Association, American Bus Marketplace, Bank Club, Travel, Bank Travel, Heritage Pier Show, Legislative Showcase. There's just been a variety of different places that Fairfield is now recognized. Full page ads in the media, Farm Bureau advertisement for their summer calendars. Top 100 events in Iowa. We've been recognized and submitted to the American Bus Association for travel sites on various websites. Travel writers, they've been to town. I don't know how many of you had a chance to see, but the Iowa Magazine, which is a very well-respected, long-term read magazine. There's an article has been in there about Iowa because of Lucy's work on this. Different publications are listing what's going on here in the community. So she's out making things happen. A CD-ROM has been constructed of various pictures, different activities that go on in the community, so when people inquire, if they haven't been here, they're able to actually take something with them or be easily sent to them in the mail so they can physically look at what are we doing here in the community, why should you come to Fairfield. Of course, we've always touted the number of restaurants that are in the community as being highest per capita outside of maybe San Francisco, or maybe we've eclipsed that now as we have a few more that have grown. Bus tours right now, we're in an infancy. As we continue to grow, we'll move into different levels, but right now we're focusing on bus tours until we can get a convention center built. And she gave us an update on that the other day as far as why we do this. Currently, there are 6 booked bus tours. These tours have the economic impact of leaving up to $62,000 in our community. Not just hotel motel tax, that's what funds us, but this is the people that are going to buy gasoline, stay overnight, buy food, the retail. So it's a significant impact, and that's one of the reasons our purpose for being here is to help grow the community, bring people, and have them come back a second time and a third time. It's been a very good year. Our board for the 2005 term was Brendan Narducci, Julie Manning, Ken Malloy, Tom Thompson, and Michael Haley. We have 3 new members that are taking replacement, Tori Adam, Dave Taboto, and David Du Bois. So we have a good, strong board, and we feel that 2006, hang on, we just get started. We'll see you next year. Thank you.
Next up is one of my favorite parts of the program, and that is the Business Improvement Awards, which fills us in on all the great things that have been happening in town there. I'm going to lose that microphone again. I'll leave it down for Susan. Susan and Patty are the fastest talking members of the Chamber Board, so we gave them this job.
Boy, well, you have no idea how fast, and Patty doesn't know this, but I thought I would surprise her. And I thought instead of, we just do the same way, we announce it. But I thought this year, Patty and I do something different. I thought we would rap. I just wanted to see her face. Well, I thought that's what we had going here at first when Jim was. But anyway, we'll start with the Business Improvement Awards. And as we tell a little bit about your business, if you'd want to, who's receiving the award, if you'd just like to start coming forward, and Bob Phipps will give you the award. We'll start with Village Realty. Village Realty is owned by John and Pam Macy. They are a realty business that purchased the kiosk on the corner of Main and Broadway, and I'm sure everyone has noticed it has a fresh coat of paint, a big improvement right there. They use the kiosk as part of their business. They meet clients there. Congratulations and thank you, John. Jacob's Ladder Antique Mall. Karen Ruby purchased the business last year. She has made various improvements. She has taken out a wall, made 4 new booths for consignment sales. She's painted, remodeled. She's got another project going on, going to have the basement open for more antiques. Thank you, Karen. We appreciate your business. Next, we have Walker Group, Inc. Now, Dan Walker started a business that has created jobs for so many people, and as you can see, at 300 jobs, 75 people live in Fairfield. He has trained them as insurance adjusters, and they have gone to all over the country where disasters have happened. They have made life so much easier. Thank you, Dan, very much.
Cambridge Investment Group is our next recipient. Cambridge purchased 40 acres of land last year at 1776 Pleasant Plain Road, and construction was completed on a 2-story, 40,000 square foot headquarters in less than 8 months. The upgraded facility signifies a major investment in the firm's future by Cambridge, Jefferson County, and the state of Iowa. The total building cost of $3.8 million was offset by grants from the county and the Iowa Department of Economic Development. With a staff of 155, Cambridge is now Fairfield's 8th largest employer. The new headquarters is large enough to enable future expansion with room for Cambridge to double its current staff. Here to accept the award for Cambridge is Amy Weber. Waste Management of Fairfield recently upgraded their recycle center with a new baler, conveyor system, and additional loading docks. They also added an additional compactor for trash and expanded their maintenance shop to allow accommodations of larger trucks. The cost of their capital improvement was over $300,000 and was completed by local contractors. Here to accept the award is Greg Traver and Jeremy Olson. Petit Paris is a double venture. Petit Paris Restaurant and Petit Paris Cafe. The cafe section was opened in 2005 next to the restaurant, offering breakfast, a quick soup, and gourmet sandwich service. The cafe also offers extra space, allowing Petit Paris to conduct regular business while being able to host private functions in their other room. Here to accept the award is Marie Helene and Matthew Tournay. During 2005, Agri-Industrial Plastics Company took a multifaceted approach to growth in order to successfully position itself for the future. With the addition of a new co-extrusion blow molding machine, Agra is positioning itself to be one of the few providers of non-automotive multi-layer fuel tanks. During 2005, Agra also ordered 2 new 20-pound accumulator head machines and 1 new 5-pound machine. The increase in production capacity will serve to ensure timely delivery based on customer demands. All 3 machines have an estimated delivery of spring 2006. In support of increased production capabilities and capacity, Agra is adding 20 additional production employees, 1 new engineer, and 2 full-time customer service representatives. A new office of 3,500 square feet was completed in October of 2005. The office expansion includes the addition of a training room facility for 50 people. Here to accept the award is Dick Smith. Kim's Cottage was able to expand by a third when they took over the retail area adjacent to their store. 2 large doorways were cut in the adjoining wall for the expansion. The additional footage allowed Kim to expand her displays, as well as expand her offerings in several of her gift and home decor lines. Accepting is Kim Miller.
Frontline Printing. Frontline has many improvements that they have added to their printing business. We're very fortunate to have such a high-class technical printing facility here in Fairfield. They have grown, they've changed, they've added new graphics. They now have an office in Des Moines, so their sales should rise. That will help Fairfield. They'll employ more people. We're very thankful to have Frontline Printing. Thank you.
Our next recipient is McDonald's Restaurant. McDonald's has seen a facelift in 2005, with improvements being made both inside and outside the restaurant. The lobby, counter, and bathrooms were all remodeled. New seating, paint, wall treatments, and lighting were all part of the facelift. Outside, the parking lot received an overlay, and a new menu board was installed. Patio seating was put in, and the landscaping received a facelift. For convenience of ordering, McDonald's went from a face-to-face ordering process to a speaker system. In addition, a new computer system was installed inside the restaurant. I believe the chamber will accept for Barb and Dale Fredericks tonight.
Okay, we're going to move on to the Community Improvement Awards. And this year, we are fortunate to have one of the recipients is Live on the Square, or as we fondly call it, LOTS, L-O-T-S. Live on the Square started in the spring of 2001. Small committee of Ed Malloy, Bill Blackmore, Andy Nelson, and Nancy Morrissey. We had 3 concerts. They were all free. Brought a lot of people to Fairfield. Every year it's grown and grown. We're fortunate this year, in 2006, we're going to have more concerts. They will partner with the Art Walk, Jefferson County Fair, and the Kiwanis Day. It is a great time. It is free. However, the talent now does cost money. We want sponsors, just a little plug. So please, this summer, make sure you come to Live on the Square, and thank you, Andy Nelson. Partners for Play 2, the Chautauqua Park Committee, raised over $70,000. How many got toilets in their yard? Jay Else does not want to be a paper boy, but he delivered papers. There were a lot of fundraising going on around. A lot of people donated money, their time, for the 2 components that were put in Chautauqua Park, one at Shelter 2, one at Shelter 3. We want to thank the committee. They're listed here, many people. This was a big project. Accepting the award will be Jay Else, Steve Beltrame, and Barry Dodds. Thank you. Jay Else, Steve Beltrame. All of our awards, I think, are very special, but I think this one in particular, the addition to our courthouse, is unbelievable. I had no idea. I thought it was kind of I thought, well, gosh, what's the big deal? Steeple on the courthouse. You know, and Lee Gobble was such a big promoter of this, and then as the project came and the crane put it on, and it was unbelievable, and the beauty or what we have received from that, I'm amazed. It is a wonderful improvement to our courthouse, to our city, and along with that is, of course, our memorial to our veterans. It is a beautiful work of art. If you haven't seen it, especially at night with the lights on, it is very impressive, and we're fortunate that we have so many people in this community that will donate their time and effort to get something like this, to have it come to life. And we are very fortunate, and accepting for the Jefferson County Courthouse is Dick Reed.
Congratulations to all the award recipients, and great job of reading, ladies. You don't often have to pronounce Petit Paris and co-extrusion blow molding on the same page. Now, we've heard already from Mr. Fairfield and Mr. Enthusiasm. Well, he's also Mr. Entrepreneur. Dave Neff is up to speak for the Entrepreneurs Association.
How do you take 24 hours and squeeze them into 12? Thank you, Iowa State Bank, for giving me a little bit of bank time to help work on these projects, and it does make a difference when your employer supports the efforts that you're working on in the community. Review, Fairfield Entrepreneurial Association. You ever hear of getting drafted into a responsibility? Well, actually, that's why I'm here. No one else wanted the job, and so I said I'll give you 6 months, and if I hang on a little longer, maybe they'll give me another 6 months. We'll see what happens. So I'm going to tell you what happened in 2005. For 18 years, the Fairfield Entrepreneurial Association has been associated with the Chamber of Commerce. Person who you've seen up here previously is currently on the road telling the Fairfield story, the model, Fairfield model, Burt Chojnowski. Many different places. As far as Washington, D.C., he has spoken to a national conference. At that point, he met the governor of Mississippi. Little did he know that within a few weeks, Katrina would arrive, and the governor of Mississippi says, Burt, I know what you're talking about. Come on down, help us on economic development. So he's been there. He's also taken it to Littleton, Colorado, Chico State in California, Washington University in St. Louis, and also spoke to our own Iowa Independent Bankers Association meeting in Lake Okoboji this past July. We received a community vitality grant from the Iowa State University to assist in projects. Brain Belt initiatives were one of our great places initiatives that we put together. We have put together and are very successful, and thank you for your support on this, CEOs sponsoring a quarterly CEO roundtable discussion. It's exclusive, it's informal. Mark Freeman's our coordinator and facilitator on this. We also have support from the university as far as a business incubator. So as people have ideas, they don't have the capital, they don't have the space, but they want to at least start it. David Goodman and Scott Harriet at the university have small spaces available that people can begin their projects. Community capital, virtual incubator, angel investor network. That was a discussion of a meeting that happened today. I was not unable to attend, but we're looking what can we do to help people that have been successful in the community reinvest in these startup companies. Chamber of the 21st Century. Where is this organization going to be in another 50, 60 years? What can we do to keep our own Fairfield graduates from MUM and FHS here in our community? We're looking to our Young Professionals Sustainable Living Coalition, and they're going to give us some ideas as to what they think we would need in order to help retain folks here. Representative Whitaker was mentioned earlier. One of our missions is to try and get an E85 station in Fairfield so we can start using some of that high-powered, home-brewed facility locally here. And he mentioned that even right now, as we speak, the legislature is in process of trying to loosen some of the constraining orders that have been out there. We hold monthly executive meetings. Members Ed Malloy, Alan Balmer, Bob Moore, Tom Toohill, Burt Chojnowski, Dave Goodman, Ken Ross, Mark Freeman, and myself. And then we hold quarterly meetings. At the same time, we try and present what happens at these monthly meetings into a more succinct composite for a larger scope of our business community. What do we have in 2006 already? In fact, this, let's see, 21st, I guess that was. Participated at an Alliant Utilities Conference entitled Get Your Smaller Communities Booming. This was in Burlington. There were 2 local presenters, companies that maybe you haven't heard of yet. Some of you have. One of them is called Green Creek Building Systems. The other has been around a little bit longer. It's the Sky Factory, and each of them gave a 5-minute presentation in Burlington for the Southeastern Iowa presentation. And we're on schedule to host a National Rural Entrepreneurial Gathering here in 2006 in May. Practices, case studies from rural entrepreneurial communities. So there are even national folks that want to bring things that have happened in San Francisco and other places around to our community just because of what they hear on the street. So it's not just us folks, other people around the state and around the other region, much less the United States, are saying, what is going on in Fairfield? Well, part of the reason that people understand it is because Burt's out there beating the pavement. He's telling people about it, and he's being invited, and I guess he's getting paid to go to these things. I don't know.
Probably arranged for that.
We're not paying for him, I don't think. But anyway, it's a good way to spread the word, and we're glad that he's out there beating the pavement for us. So that's in a nutshell where we've been. If I do a few things right, maybe you'll have me another 6 months or so. We'll see what happens. Now, the fun part, recognitions. I don't know how many years this has been. 4 or 5 years we've recognized Entrepreneur of the Year? Been longer than that,
Something like
Ed?
that.
At least? Okay. Well, here we go. Seminar Crowds Incorporated. They were started in business 2 years ago this month here in Fairfield with an initial $300 in capital invested by its founders. The company was founded by Mark DeLotte, who continues to be president, chairman of the board, Steve Wynn, who runs the operations, and Clyde Cleveland, who is the vice president for marketing. People say, who are Seminar Crowds? Well, here you go. Let's find out. The company motto is low-cost mailers that work. The market is primarily financial planners who hold workshops or seminars. The Seminar Crowds, they discovered that simple, low-cost postcard invitations are as effective as fancy wedding-style invitations. The companies that they work for save approximately $2,000 every time they do a mailing. Seminar Crowds bundles everything for the financial planner in terms of their mailings. That can include the reservation service, first-class postage, and the mailing list. In the last 2 years, over 1,000 insurance agents, brokers, financial planners have used Seminar Crowds mailers. Seminar Crowds, they're on the good list when you go to the post office. You don't look for their picture on the wall. They like these folks, I tell you. Over 30 million invitations through the Fairfield post office in the last 2 years have been sent. The company has 40 employees, up 5 from 5 when it started in February of 2005. Sales reached $8 million for the fiscal 2005 and have grown 35% so far this year versus 2005. All the postcard invitations are produced right here in their offices and manufacturing facilities, 1100 North 4th Street, in the building on the west side of the road of the highway as you head out of town. Mark, Steve, and Clyde had the vision to create an irresistible offer to financial planners, and it works. As a result, Seminar Crowds is the largest financial seminar mailing service in the United States. Please welcome Clyde Cleveland, who will accept the Chambers Award on behalf of the associates.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you. So, I walk in that door tonight, and the first thing I see is this fluorescent red coat, and inside of it is David Neff. And I say, "Hi, David," and the first words out of his mouth were, "Clyde, you got 2 minutes." Now, what I want to know, Dave, is you've known me for 24 years. What makes you think I'd talk longer than 2 minutes? I can't understand that. I'm going to use my full 2 minutes, Dave. Sometimes, folks, you're at the right place at the right time with the right idea. And 2.5 years ago, Mark and Stephen and I were sitting in that building, just the three of us, with this idea. And 2.5 years ago, you know, we have over 40 employees, and we're growing like crazy. And it's just, you just have to be grateful and humble with what we've experienced. It's been a great experience. But of those three things, I just want to talk for my 2 minutes about place. Yesterday, we had a fellow fly down here from Panora, Iowa. By the way, we do work with a lot of insurance agents around the country, and the insurance agents have as an intermediary independent marketing organizations. And these independent marketing organizations are the intermediary. We work with a lot of them around the country. Well, the largest one in the country is Brokers International out of Panora, Iowa. And they did $4 billion last year of sales in annuities and insurance products. And they flew down here in one of their 3 planes yesterday. Does anybody know where Panora is, by the way? It's just a tiny little town. It makes Fairfield look like a major metropolis. They have one restaurant, right? One restaurant in that town. And so they came down here to meet with us. And it was very interesting what he said. We were talking about, you know, being here in Iowa. And he said since 1958, when they started that company, they've had a strategy of doing business whenever possible with Midwestern companies. And the reason is because people are more highly educated, they have a tremendous work ethic, and it's a lot less expensive to run a company in a place like this. And I will tell you that we probably would not be where we are. We would not have been successful with our company if we weren't in Fairfield, Iowa. So we're very, very grateful to all of you for being here, for making Fairfield what it is, and thank you very, very much for this honor and for this recognition. Thank you.
Just so you can see this, is one of the other gentlemen here. Over there, he's waving at you. Here you go. I think this is the last time I'm requested to speak, and said, unless Mel's voice gives out later. I don't know. I've been forewarned on that too. Okay. Thomas Wilson Gobble. Lee T. Gobble. 4 generations of retail in Jefferson County. Everything from kegs of nails and rolls of wire to Gant shirts for the guys, and I'm told Bobby Brooks for the girls. They were here tonight to honor that family name. It has roots in Jefferson County since 1844. That's 2 years before Iowa became a state. Some retailers are known for innovation, others for consistency. The family we recognize here tonight always stayed on the leading edge of what their customers wanted. It's your choice of 3 letters that can be used to define our Hall of Fame inductee tonight. Could be GGG or LTG or just plainly turkey. I just really wonder how a bird of that stature was nominated for our national emblem and how it got beat out by an eagle. I really don't know. Okay, let's start with the first one. Thomas Wilson Gobble came by covered wagon to Abington, Iowa in 1844 from Abington, Virginia, and they helped settle the community. This was the first store. It was a general store established in 1853. That's the nails and the wire part. The next in line was Lee T. Gobble, the grandfather. He still remained in Abington until he moved to Fairfield in 1896, when his son R. Bruce Gobble was of high school age. And his wife encouraged them, saying that the family really should consider moving to Fairfield because it had so much more to offer than Abington. It had a high school, a library, and 4 churches at that time. So they made the move, and at that time Lee T. Gobble and Charles Heer bought out the Booker clothing store, and the Fairfield location became reality in 1899. His father still maintained the store in Abington. The first location was the Lodge building on the north side of the square. For many years this was occupied by Coast to Coast, located on the east side of the alley that leads toward the courthouse. In those days there were for about everything, Lee has told us. There were 4 clothing stores, 4 drug stores, 4 hardware stores, 4 shoe stores, and the main competition they ran into was department stores. A Fair store, Roth, and Thorn, which came as close as Fairfield ever saw at that time as department stores. And all 3 of them ended up in an L-shaped type facility. I'm not going to go into detail because I've been told to keep it short too. The store then moved to the west side of the square in the Depression, and it was considered a prime location, and it was also because the rent was cheaper. There were a number of vacancies in those days, as we were told. Bruce Gobble bought out his father's share of the partnership in 1918. Bruce starred in football at Parsons, being elected to the first class of the Parsons College Sports Hall of Fame. He later coached at high school, also at the Fairfield High School and at the college. His son Lee T. then started working part-time in high school and also while attending Parsons at the clothing store. When he returned from the U.S. Army, he purchased the Hare share in 1945 and became a full partner with his father. At that time, I think is when Lee really realized he had a marketing flair. He decided to bring in antiques. They were added to give the store a more distinctive atmosphere. Since he was trying to go to a college community, there were a collection of 100 beer cans that were put in the lower level of the store. I was trying to keep a family-type clothing store and expand to a college shop, he said. He was the biggest seller of Gant shirts for men and women in the entire state of Iowa. College students had active charge accounts. He says 1,500 statements were going out to the college parents on a monthly basis. 1,500 out of 5,000 students, that's a pretty good percentage of customers. Business was good. The store was expanded during the Parsons heyday with split-level design that doubled the first floor. Lee said he stopped keeping track of the expenses when they were doing the construction, and these costs topped over $100,000. This is in the early 1960s, so compare that to what it would be today. Lee tells of the Levi Strauss sales rep who says Gobble's basement was the first jean shop in Iowa. As an aside, my first Madras sport coat that I ever owned came from Lee in March 1965 when I was a high school senior, and I don't think I still have it anymore, but otherwise I'd have worn it tonight and Jim could have picked on me. And the red pants, yes. Once selling the business to Bruce and Angie Bussey in January of 1986, Lee was not able to stay on the sidelines. He always made time to table hop at the country club, drive his golf cart, fixed up like a turkey in the Kids' Day Parade, and currently still serves on the board of our Parsons College Foundation Fund, assisting in fundraising for the Civic Center. Of course, Lee never forgot a primary mission of his father. Quote, "Do whatever you can to get the steeple back on the courthouse," and that he did. Lee T. Gobble, we salute you and your family as 2006 inductee of the Fairfield Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame and the best cheerleader Fairfield's ever known, Mr. Gobble. I'd like to thank the Ledger for their research on this, KMCD for helping things put together, and with the wonder of science and technology, Mr. Gobble will join us.
Greetings, chamber members and guests. Sorry I can't be with you tonight, but would you prefer that you join me here in warm, sunny Florida? Thanks, Dave, Neff, and the committee. I'm very surprised and flattered for my family to be receiving this honor. We're just one of the many Fairfield families that must share in this award. And I would like to confess, I would have been a self-made merchant if it hadn't been for my dad, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather that gave me a 3-generation start. It would be nice to be down here. It's nice to be down here, but it's not home. And I'm counting the days until late April when I'm back and jump on the lawnmower. This retirement community in Florida is called Sun City Center, about a half-hour south of Tampa. One has to be age 55 or over to reside here. So we guys in the 90s are immediately eligible. When I need a little bit of Fairfield flavor, I get together with Wayne Kleppinger, the shoe merchant, or Pat and Sammy Samuelson, the used car salesman. And just met a 1965 Parsons alum who praises Fairfield and Parsons for turning his life around and bringing him success and contentment. I was born in Fairfield, and I'm proud every day since, and today we are coming up with many worthwhile things as we come together for an even stronger community. Much as Sun City Center operates with retirees becoming volunteer helpers, our Sammy Samuelson is a part-time member of an emergency ambulance crew. His biggest job so far was rescuing a 300-pound lady stuck in the bathtub. Large and Cornell Clark, former Parsons faculty, are here, and Dr. Wolf, formerly of Richland. Want to know what kind of hints and reminders my family have passed through generations? Here are a couple of examples that are still ringing in my ears. Thinking is hard work for some people. If that one didn't sink in, let's try this one. It's one thing to be dumb, but if we are dumb and don't know it, we are in big trouble. During World War II, my dad kept writing me overseas that he'd like to retire, but if I wanted to take over when the war was over, he would hold things together. As for me, almost 4 years in London and peddling Chanel No. 5 in Paris, I could hardly remember what Fairfield looked like. Well, fortunately for me, I did return to Fairfield in the store and have never regretted it even for a minute. And about my dad's retirement, he kept coming to the store every day for another 20 years selling Oshkosh bib overalls. As Levi's replaced bibs and Fairfield line baseball caps replaced Stetson hats, I can recall Dad telling his cronies, I can remember when they sold real clothes around here. My dad would remember all the particular shoppers' wishes most, but the most finicky was the little old lady after an empty box. The empty boxes were kept in the store attic, and the trip was 99 steps up and 99 steps back down. Upon presenting the much-traveled box to the appreciative lady, she would be heard to say, "You didn't have one just a little bit longer, did you?" And that's what a fun place it was like for 132 years at Gobbles. Pardon my excitement this morning. The store's proudest day, a long-time customer from Libertyville carrying a small child. Bruce, our family has shopped here for 3 generations, and we want to make it 4 generations. Well, that would be wonderful, but we don't have any babies' clothing. Well, you've got to come up with something. Soon my dad came from the tailor shop where Stella's mothers had made a few tucks in a Fairfield line boys' baseball cap, and everybody was smiling proudly. Shoppers would often ask, where do you keep coming up with all these super efficient gal helpers? And the answer, we continue to go out on Glasgow Road and wait for more Kessel girls to show up. And another prize was Betty Roach, the office manager. During World War II, my dad would write me every day I was in the service. What does one write about day after day? It wasn't important what he wrote about, but it was to remind you that somebody back home was thinking of you every day. So let's remember to write our service friends and relatives often. And thanking you for this honor on behalf of all the families that deserve to be included, like the Luckmans, the Walkers, the Ralph Perrys, and the Ed Martins. See you in the spring. Keep Fairfield humming and meditating.
Thank you, Dave. As long as you keep bringing good news like that, we'll let you come back up again. Well, now the moment that at least one person and maybe 2 people in this room have been waiting for 2 years. It's my pleasure to present to you your outgoing Chamber President, Bob Moore. Bob, well, that was kind of a clumsy introduction, but I had something else I wanted to say. It's a pleasure for me to introduce Bob because I guess I take a little credit for getting him started. I went over to his office and twisted his arm to fill in as VP of Economic Development when Jay Mitchell moved to California. And he did take some persuading. But I'm so glad that he accepted, and he's been a great leader. Believe me, I had no idea you'd have to be president 2 years when I asked you to get started. But congratulations, Bob, and we're anxious to hear your remarks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. Well, first I'd like to introduce my wife, Holly. If you haven't seen Holly at First Friday's Art Walk, you might have seen her on FPAC. She's all over the place one way or another, so a great community volunteer. Well, first of all, I want to congratulate all the award winners this evening, from our beloved and persistent Lee Gobble as Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame Award winner tonight, and Steve, Clyde, and Mark at Seminar Crowds. I'd say anybody that can turn $300 into $8 million cash flow in 2 years deserves some kind of an award. That's phenomenal. Great work. And of course, congratulations to all of our Business Improvement Award winners tonight at a time when economic development and beautification is so important in our town. Any business that makes an investment in the future of Fairfield is adding to our future capital and deserves special recognition for that. So congratulations to all of you. Well, this past year as Chamber Board President has been a very rewarding one. With the continued support from our membership, our Board of Directors, and our staff, in other words, most everyone in this room, and certainly a lot more, we maintained our full slate of Chamber activities. Events that offer networking opportunities, educational opportunities, celebrations for our manufacturers, our teachers, our farmers, and also support for our retailers. And with the help of many individuals and organizations, some of the seeds that have been planted over the past years bore fruit this year. The Chamber's joint creation with FEDA of a robust 3-year economic development and marketing plan for Fairfield has laid groundwork for new programs and initiatives to not only help attract new businesses to Fairfield, but to also provide various forms of support to our existing businesses. Also, the Fairfield Architectural and Redevelopment Committee took a lead role in developing a plan for beautifying and revitalizing downtown Fairfield through improvements to the infrastructure. The plan has been adopted by the City Council, and we'll begin to see some of those efforts take shape this year. And the Fairfield Merchants Committee has taken on a new life. The cross promotions that they've participated in with the thriving combined weekend events such as First Friday's Art Walk, Live on the Square, and the Farmers Market. These are becoming signature events for our town. They've really brought new dollars into Fairfield. So thank you to that group, to all the groups that have really supported some of these great solid initiatives within this past year in our chamber. Serving as your board president for the past 2 years has been a great privilege and really an enjoyable, very enjoyable learning experience. The enjoyment came largely from the considerable support and the frequent interactions with the chamber board members, and of course many of the old and new friends throughout the community in various organizations and the chamber staff. And I'd like to personally thank and recognize our staff, Bob Phipps, Nancy Morrissey, Sally Chandler, and now Jody Conger, for the dependability and hard work that they've provided with their constant support and encouragement that they've provided to our board and myself and the entire membership base. So thank you. Appreciate it. Before I sign off, I have a few awards to present. First, the Past Directors Awards which go to Deb Carlson for her 6 years on the Chamber Board, and Devlin Wilson for her 6 years, including one as president. So I don't believe either one, but Dave? Oh, Deb, come on up, come on up. Jeff, why don't you come on up on Devlin's behalf? Would you mind? Come on, Jeff. And before I pass the gavel to our incoming president, I'd like to present this year's President's Award, which is given annually by the outgoing president. The recipient of this year's President Award is a go-getter in the truest sense. He is one of the community's most ubiquitous volunteers and is not only a great idea person, but a person with a positive vision for Fairfield's bright future. And he's also in the trenches, attending numerous meetings from team tourism to Live on the Square and Civic Center board meetings, placing ad campaigns for various events and raising money from various event sponsors. Full of energy and ideas, this individual has not only been a key player in networking and coordinating the marketing of many city tourism events, in addition to promoting successful car shows in Fairfield for several years, he's been the leading force in the development and growth of our city's highly successful Live on the Square concert series. It gives me great pleasure to present this year's President's Award to our own Andy Nelson. Now, this award was a little tricky because Andy's company did the engraving for all of these plaques, and he has a blank plaque scotch taped onto the wood at this point. Well, Andy, you can take care of that, right? All right. So now I think it's time for Jim, but thanks for all your support. Appreciate it.
Good job.
Thank you.
Before we get into our new president, I want to take a minute and recognize our other past chamber presidents. So would all other past chamber presidents in the room please stand and be recognized? Well, maybe they're all someplace else. No, here we go. Now, Bob always obsesses over time on these nights. He's just, but we're running ahead, Bob. I think we've got a little bit of time, so I've decided to ask a few other people to come up and speak. I'm going to start with Jeff Wilson, and you might want to come up here too. Jeff Wilson, would you come up?
This is kind of like a roast or something, but I had just taken on chamber presidency, or just was about to, in '97, and just before the year was over, Mike Brewer decided that he was going to go to Burlington, and so I was kind of perplexed as to, geez, how do I do this without the executive director of the chamber had been in place for about 10 years. We put together a search committee, and Bob Phipps was the president-elect. He was supposed to be chamber president the year after I was. And about a few weeks into the search, Bob decided he wanted to be a candidate. And so the search committee took on Bob. Bob was no longer a part of the search committee. He was interviewed as a candidate. And as soon as he did that, I thought, well, it didn't take me too long to put two and two together. If Bob was hired, we weren't going to have a president-elect. And on that kind of short notice, it was, I was looking at 2 years, and well, Bob knows how I feel.
Hey.
And so I did some scrambling. And lo and behold, Bob was hired. Being kind, it wasn't unanimous, but it became unanimous. It was it was like, well, there's other difficult selections, but it was a hard one, and Bob was the best candidate, and it's been a short, how many years, Bob? 9? 9. So thank you very much for 2 years as chamber president, and I think it was, when did you started in about May or June? Okay, so there was about 4 or 5 months when we didn't have a chamber person, or a chamber executive director, and Nancy was the shining star to keep things running, but just never had a proper way to thank you, Bob. Thanks a lot.
And our next past president up that has some things to say. Bob, we have plenty of time. Just relax. President from 2001, Jody Kerr.
Well, as most of you know, I don't have a lot of time this year to write really long speeches, so Bob, that's in your favor, I know. Just asked to say a few words. Again, 2001 was the year that I was president, and as we all know in the history books of this country, 2001 will be remembered. One thing I remember from that year that was accomplished and had taken a while to get accomplished was the Heritage Courtyard. So I don't know if you remember, but in October of 2001, actually that same month, yeah, we finally got the bricks laid, and actually, Bob, I should have bought you a brick, and I don't know what I would have put on it. That might have taken some thought, but I didn't really think of that idea until tonight. Those of you that might have been on the board at the same time I was, along with the staff, might remember that I guess maybe I'm going to give Bob a little something to remember me in my year. My favorite item is chocolate. Do you remember the year I was president? I got this nice little gift of chocolate up here. So I have a little gift for Bob. I have a box of chocolates. And for those of you that know Bob really well, there are no nuts in these chocolates. I made sure. So thanks a lot, Bob.
Plenty of time. Plenty of time, Bob. Just relax. Well, I had the pleasure of working with Bob I was on the Chamber Board 6 years, so I guess I was with him all 6 of those years. And we fought some battles together that continued on after I was off the board, and we didn't win all those battles, but we made a good fight, and I've always appreciated working with Bob. Now, the highlight of my year, in 2002, the Chamber celebrated their 75th anniversary. So, Bob, I've got some gifts up here for you to commemorate that. Come on up here. Well, of course, some 75th anniversary balloons. And you never have enough notepads. Is there anything else in here? Napkins, of course. Someplace. The famous 70th anniversary napkins. So there, and then on a more serious note, well, not really. I figure you've probably worn out your coffee cup at the Chamber. It gets a lot of use. And so I got you a nice new big coffee mug that you can use in retirement. Advertisement time, this from Revelations. And inside, approximately 75 jelly beans from Kim's Cottage. So, congratulations, enjoy your retirement. Okay, and that brings us up to our immediate past president, Bob Moore.
All right. One more time. So I'm very happy to be able to contribute to this presentation this evening of Bob Phipps, the man, the myth, the legend. I think the one thing that I would like to acknowledge seriously about Bob this evening is my appreciation of his loyalty, specifically his loyalty to our community and to the presidents that have worked with him over the past 9 years. Bob is one of Fairfield's best PR people, whether it's climbing aboard of a tour bus to share Fairfield's unique history with 55 senior citizens that are visiting here to find what our hidden treasures are, or tactfully redirecting a reporter from a potential unflattering story angle toward a more positive spin on things. Bob is one of our very best and most loyal ambassadors to Fairfield. Bob has shown his love for Fairfield in many other ways, from consistently showing up and participating at our public events, to broadcasting his weekly radio show, to promoting the many chamber events that help us grow our community. Bob's always there for Fairfield, especially if there's golf around involved. I doubt that he's ever missed a blast off, and I know that he's ready to go for the Girl Scout annual fundraiser this year. He's going to buy enough strokes to beat out Mike Brewer at that. He'll make sure he wins that one. So Bob's loyalty to the chamber presidents has cycled through, the presidents that have cycled through the boardroom is actually quite remarkable. As president, if you ever feel like Bob is looking over your shoulder, it's because he has your back. He's helping you through your first term as president, your first weeks, learning the budgets, or supporting your role in accomplishing the chamber's many goals. You know, you can turn to Bob as a valuable resource to let us know what's worked, what's not worked, or what ideas might work in the future for new projects. Bob's made the chamber officer's responsibility easier to accomplish. Now, Bob, I know that for many people, retirement does take some adjusting. We all wish you a wonderful transition into your joys of retirement. I know you're trying to quit smoking. I'm not sure if Marty has a non-smoking policy enforced at home, but I wanted to give you something that would soften the change in your daily environment. Let's see if we can get this unwrapped here. Bob, you want to come on up here? Well, this is going to be a little hard to get out, but...
Oh, that's okay. That's okay, Bob. You don't
No, this has got to get unveiled, Bob. This is the butt can that resides outside of the chamber door. It's got a lot of cigarettes in it. Congratulations. Oh, it stinks.
Oh, get it out of here. Oh, boy. I think
It's my wife's idea, by the way.
I think next year the chamber gets a business improvement award. Oh, well, we still got plenty of time, Bob. So I'm going to open this up, beyond past presidents. And of course, I mean, the no retirement is official without a proclamation from the mayor.
I know how painful this is, Bob. But this is your last one, so don't take it too hard. For me personally, Bob's retirement did come as a little bit of a surprise. Was anybody else surprised here when they heard about it? There you go. he did drop some hints. There were a few clues that I picked up, you know, in the months prior to his retirement, and it finally all the pieces came together. But you know, these are some of the things that I overheard Bob saying leading up to his retirement. Budget meeting, he said, just blurted out, you know, the only numbers that really matter are my handicap. But that's weird. You know. Then one day, you know, coming out of the office, I heard him say, look, I've had it sharing an office with those Hanson phone books. I guess the people who didn't laugh haven't been in the chamber office in a while. Then I heard him say, look, I can't make that meeting on Friday. I made my meeting quota on Tuesday. Then I heard him on a phone call one time. This is what really got me. He said, look, call the city. They should know the answer to that question. And finally, he just said, I'm going to Disney World. Well, in my position, I really share a lot of time with Bob, and that's been a joy and a delight, because he has, as Bob Moore, his recent president, attested to, been a wonderful ambassador to this community. And a lot of times we share that role, and I have always felt that I have a partner in what I do in this community in Bob, and I want to thank him for that, because it has been a pleasure to work with him. The job of chamber president also goes far beyond those 8 hours that you spend in the office. Bob is available and is seen at everything around town, because he does have a personal commitment to our community. He does enjoy our community, loves our community, and his dedication is something that we all have benefited from. Bob has always done it in a very quiet and understated way as well, which is really a testament to his great personality and his great strengths. So a few years ago, we created an award at City Hall called the Community Excellence Award, and that's given to the people who do extraordinary things in our community, both large and small. And I'd like to present Bob tonight with the first Lifetime Achievement Award for community service from the city, our Community Excellence Award to Bob Smith for everything that he's done. It's an old friend of mine, Bob Phipps. There's a story to that last name. But anyway, I do know your last name. Please join me in thanking and welcoming and wishing a grand retirement to Bob Phipps, our Executive Director of the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce. And that Bob Smith guy is going to have to do something great to get his award.
Oh, I thought maybe that was something Jody could engrave on that brick, was Bob Smith. Well, now FEDA's been fairly forthcoming tonight, so maybe Craig Foss has something to add in this vein.
Actually, Tom and I are going to do this as a tag team. We're here as dates for each other, by the way. Our significant others didn't want to be seen in public with us, so we're together.
Or in private.
Or in private, yeah. Just a couple comments about Bob. A lot of the comments that have been made by previous speakers, I would echo all of them. Bob's been an excellent executive director for the Chamber of Commerce, and he also serves in that same capacity for the Economic Development Association. Bob's got one of the positive attributes about Bob that hasn't been mentioned is his relationship with other economic development directors and representatives in the state of Iowa and also in our region. He's developed really good, strong relationships with those folks, and all of that has been to the benefit of the Fairfield community as we're able to gain the benefits of that. Also, another part of Bob's job that maybe a lot of you really aren't aware of, and I really wasn't aware of this either when he started working for FEDA, but this developed and evolved over the course of almost 9 years, is that Bob has actually become a tour director in Fairfield. And he was a tour director of a very specific tourist attraction. It was an attraction that attracted such folks as representatives of the EPA, being some notables. There were also some bankers involved in this and some government officials. But Bob was really our unofficial tour director of the former Iowa Malleable site. He managed to get hundreds of people through that facility that was literally falling down on itself, get them through that facility without any injuries, without any broken bones. And it was quite a marvelous feat, especially and those of you who maybe had the opportunity to go through that site probably can recognize and appreciate what a great job Bob did. So, Bob, thank you for that. So, Tom?
Well, I guess we can go ahead and present. We've got a couple things here to present to Bob. First one, we have a plaque here. Real nice plaque. You do this, Andy? Wow. It's presented to Robert E. Phipps in recognition for outstanding service as the Executive Vice President for the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce and Fairfield Economic Development Association, 1997 to 2006. This is the first. The second thing we have here is a... we got more. We've got a clock here for Bob.
Which he's been looking at his watch.
Yeah. It does have an alarm on it, which I don't think he'll need anymore. It doesn't really matter if it works or not, I guess, now that you're retired. You don't need to tell time anymore, do you? So this is for Robert Phipps, Executive Director, FEDA and Chamber. And the final thing we got for him, running shoes, but we got him and his lovely wife, who we know deserves as much as he does for all this. We've got him a weekend trip to Eagle Ridge and Galena. Hotel, golf, anything you want to do with it. So I think they even take the gift certificate in the bar, so you can spend it any way you'd like.
Well, Bob, we really would like to hear a few words from you now, but we are running kind of close. Okay, I thought you'd agree with that. Okay, now for the, we need to have a drum here so we can have a drum roll, but it's time for the passing of the gavel.
We just need a gavel. Have we got one?
I don't have a gavel.
Bob, did you find it again? This is the second time I've seen this in 2 years, and Bob, make sure you train your replacement on where the heck you hide this thing, okay? Thank you. Well, I'd like you all to join me in welcoming and congratulating our incoming president for the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tom Toohill.
Thank you. First of all, Jim, I want to know you were my first choice, so it's a lot harder following a professional speaker than following you. So I was glad you could do it.
Boy, the last time he'll take it.
So I would like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I've had about 10 people ask me how old this picture is. I can tell you it's probably about 7 months old, which is right before the twins were born, so you can see the difference. So, yeah. I'd like to thank everybody for attending tonight. I'd like to thank all of our current board members, and the ones that are here, if you'd stand up when I announce you, Pat Bloom, Jane Ann Harrell, Tammy Dunbar, Chris Cabot, Rosie Witherspoon, and Sharon Kleinow, If we could give them a round of applause, please. The ones that couldn't make it tonight were Joe Carr, Don Cummings, Brett Farrell, and Stuart Valentine. I'd also like to thank the executive committee, Patti Adam, Susan Booth, Julie Stevens, and of course Bob Moore. Okay. Those of you that know me know I've been gone the last couple weeks, and those of you that know me real well have heard the story I'm going to tell probably 20 times, but you have to sit through it again, so too bad. I was on a trip last week, and we were sitting at an airport in Chicago, and there was a couple other guys in the, we were actually sitting at a bar in the airport. And there were a couple of other guys in there, and there was one way down on my right-hand side, and he kept looking down at the guy on the left-hand side of the bar, and he kept giving him kind of funny looks, and he was sitting in there for a while, and he had a couple drinks, and after about 10 or 15 minutes, he got up and he walked over to the other end of the bar, and he looked at the guy, and he says, now tell me, my friend, he says, you wouldn't come to the old country now, would you? And the other guy goes, really? He goes, yes, he goes, I would be. And the Irish guy says, good, I knew it, he goes, I could tell you where. He says, bartender, we'll take 2 whiskeys over here. So the bartender grabbed a bottle of whiskey and brought it over, and they had a couple drinks, and he says, now tell me this, what exactly was it you came over now? And the guy says, well, he says, I came over in 83. And the Irish guy says, 83? He says, glory be. He says, I came over in 83. He says, bartender, we'll take 2 more whiskeys. So he grabs a bottle and brings it over, and he looks at him again, and he says, no. He goes, where exactly was it you came from now? And the guy says, well, he says, I came from County Cork. And he says, Cork? He says, glory be. He says, I came from Cork. He says, bartender, 2 more whiskeys. So he brought it over again, and finally he looked at him, and he says, now you got to tell me where you did your schooling. And the guy says, well, he says, I went to St. Rita's. And the bartender says, St. Rita's? He says, mother of God. He says, I went to St. Rita's. He says, bartender, bring the whiskey over here and leave the bottle. So they started drinking, and right about then the phone rang, and it was the supervisor of the bar, and he was talking to the bartender. He says, you guys busy down there tonight? The bartender says, nah. He says, not really. He says, but the Murphy twins are here, and they're bombed off their butts again. That right there is actually why I wanted to be chamber president, so I'd have a captive audience to tell that joke to. So now I won't have to tell it 50 times this year. I just got it all, and it's on FPAC too, so I got it all over in one shot. So, I remember last year when Bob stood up to give this speech, he said he was a little hesitant to be president because it was the fear of actually giving this speech, and I was sitting out there thinking, well, I guess I could kind of relate to that. And then I kind of remember 2 or 3 hours into his speech that he kind of overcame his fear. So I promise I will keep it shorter tonight. I will do that. It was much better this year. So I just want to give a little synopsis of what the chamber is going to be doing this coming year and what our function is. Most of you, if you're not aware, our mission statement is to improve the overall business climate for its members through the sponsorship of programs which stimulate economic growth, promote civic development, and enhance political action. So in essence, what we're trying to do is the chamber represents the businesses, the professional, agricultural, and community interests that advance its economic and civic well-being. The chamber preserves and promotes the free enterprise system by strengthening a sound, healthy business climate in the Fairfield area. The chamber participates in the activities of the area served by providing support for programs that are appropriate, and we encourage the members to participate in these programs, which we've had wonderful participation since I've been involved in it. It's been great. The chamber is a constructive advocate for assisting in all levels of government by maintaining an open exchange of ideas and information, and the chamber creates jobs through industrial and economic development by working with existing businesses and seeking new business and industrial opportunities. So this coming year is it's going to be an exciting year for the chamber, and we have a lot on the table this year. First, of course, we're in the process of replacing Bob. We're going to miss him. Everybody in town knows who he is. His dedication as to what's best for Fairfield is his primary goal every day he goes to work. So we need to find somebody that's going to step in and take on that duty and responsibility. We've got some real promising candidates, excellent experience in chamber and economic development areas. We're actually, I don't know if it's new, we're flying one in this weekend to interview him this weekend. So we've got some real promising candidates that we're talking to, and we're excited about that. And to be honest with you, although it's difficult to replace Bob, it's not as difficult to replace the position as what I thought it'd be. Fairfield is an easy town to sell. We've got more to offer in a town this size, excuse me, than anywhere I've ever seen before. So that's been the easy part. People know about Fairfield. We don't have to sell it to them. They're working hard at selling themselves to us, which is great. So, secondly, we're in the process of implementing our economic development plan, and the first stages of the 3-year plan are in their infancy stages now, with lead roles being taken by the Chamber, FEDA, and FEA. With the support of the Institute of Decision Making out of UNI, we have developed a strategy to market Fairfield to business enhancement, expansion, and new development. Fairfield has a distinction of being home to headquarters of over 60 different companies, which just amazes me. It also enjoys a diversified, stable, and growing economy that is so rare in a community this size. Fairfield has a lot of leverage in a marketing campaign targeted to and for businesses. It's got, as Dave mentioned earlier, it's got a national reputation, and it absolutely does. More so than, I can't even think of a sister city that we'd have that compared to in the state of Iowa. We've got first-class amenities, we've got room to grow, we've got low overhead, and an incredible entrepreneurial spirit. Our plan has 3 main objectives. It's to create jobs, it's to increase per capita income, and it's to increase the population by taking the existing businesses to the next level and attracting exciting new businesses to the area. Finally, we're looking to continue and improve our current programs through expanding into new avenues of opportunity. Fairfield's future growth is dependent on the success of its businesses. Tourism is certainly one aspect of our community's prosperity and has developed into a business category of its own. But the stability of a community depends on the nature and quality of the businesses that exist in that community. Businesses that survive and grow in an uncertain economy, businesses that pay a competitive wage, businesses that help create an economic base for a thriving community, infrastructure, and businesses that attract new residents to the community. Fairfield has a solid foundation on which to build a successful model for business expansion, retention, and attraction. We have a solid reputation for entrepreneurialism and many successful businesses that have grown from these roots. We have a commitment and a plan to revitalize our downtown area. We have current and planned community amenities that towns 3 times our size would envy. We have attractive real estate prices. We have a critical mass of intelligent and experienced individuals and who are dedicated to working together for the future of Fairfield. And we have the organizations that are in place to make these necessary economic and business plans into motion. FEDA, FEA, and the Chamber can work together to spearhead the future development and implementation of these growth plans through the support and the advantages of the Fairfield community. And one last point of business I do have tonight is I'd like to thank Bob Moore for his term as president, his acceptance of an additional term as president, his mentoring, and his absolute passion for the community of Fairfield. Hey, there you go. Whoop. There you go. Back over to the chair.
Thank you, Tom, and good luck on your coming year. I'm sure you'll get a lot accomplished. Well, you know, when it becomes known that you're going to be a master of ceremonies for any event, a lot of volunteers of jokes. Well, you know, a lot of jokes that you hear in the workplace really are not appropriate. But I do have one that's very appropriate and fitting at this time, and it's a riddle. Do you know what you get when you have 100 rabbits backing up one step? Well, that's a receding hairline. I didn't say. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Mel Allen. And Dave Reef will come up later too, I think. How are you dividing it up, Mel?
I'm first, Dave.
Okay, come on, Mel.
And as Dave put this, I'm fighting an eye infection, so I'm not positive that I can get through this because I can't see very well. But it is a pleasure of mine to be here tonight to introduce this person because she is a good friend of mine. And tonight is our privilege and honor, a lady who is an absolute expert in in one difficult and a vital field, community involvement. She has got involvement down to a fine science, and because of it, we all benefit from it. If you're looking for someone to serve on a committee or take a non-paying job, this lady is an easy mark. If she ever said no, there's no record of it. There are some people in the community who actually feel sorry for her. It makes them tired just watching her operate. She works hard for her city, school district, her church, her family, and a good number of organizations. She even works hard for her employer. Fortunately for all of us, words like burnout and overextension are not in her vocabulary. This lady is homegrown in Fairfield and graduated from Fairfield High School in the class of 1965. When you think about continuity and consistency, these are reasons why her church counts on her every week to validate the weekly deposits from the Saturday and Sunday services. She has worked for her employer for over 30 years also. She has two grown children who were both deeply involved in scouting as she was during her youth. Her son attained the rank of Eagle Scout. During his tenure as in the local scout troop, she was the treasurer for a number of his years in scouting. She is currently vice president of the Monday Night Bowling League and has participated in that league for over 2 decades. As a young adult, her parents were in charge of the concession stand for the Fairfield Fast Pitch Softball Association, and she learned from the masters what hungry, thirsty concession goers were looking for on a hot night in Iowa. The love of service grew over the years and has matured into being the leading lady of the Fairfield High School Booster Club's concession stand. This stand is renowned in southeastern Iowa as a top spot to find grilled brats, hamburgers, chili dogs, fresh popcorn, and many choices of candy and drinks. When the grills fire up and the smell goes out over the crowd, they come to the concession stand and they load up on great food. All sporting events seem to get her a special touch, whether it be the Fairfield High School football, basketball, baseball, softball, volleyball, track, cross country, wrestling, or the rest of all the sports that the kids participate in. She lines up all the food and drink as well as the concession stand workers. This lady is the first to show up and the last to leave. She was the Elks Youth Volunteer of the Year in 2002. In her spare time, she also bakes cakes for all kinds of celebrations, from weddings, birthdays, anniversaries, graduations, for her family and friends. Her employer, the Iowa State Bank and Trust Company, initiated the mentoring program in Fairfield 8 years ago, and she joined in immediately. Currently, she is working with both a boy and a girl in the elementary setting. Her husband, Gary, gives her full support, as well as children Derek and his wife, currently working for Caterpillar Corporation in Canada, and daughter Julie and her husband living in Florida, where they are the parents of James, Caitlin, and Jaden, just born earlier this month. By the way, it's hard to get her here. I'm not positive she's in the room yet. I'm hoping she is. She is here. They did just get back from visiting their grandchildren. It was tough to get her. She didn't want to come. In case you haven't figured out who we're talking about, would Elodie please come to the podium and be recognized for all her efforts and make Fairfield a great place to live. Please join me in a warm recognition to the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Citizen for the year 2006, Elodie Sellers. You gotta come around, girl. Don't cuss.
Thank you for this great honor. It takes many people to get you this point. It takes your parents, your teachers, I had a lot of help with everybody that always volunteered to do things, so it's not just me doing this. I don't know, I just say thanks.
And now to present the second award, Dave Reef.
Well, nobody ever thanks the MC, no matter how good a job they do, no matter how well they relate to the crowd. But how many people have never heard of My Friend Flicka? Tonight's,
You're a little old, Dave.
at least 10% of us followed him there. Tonight's co-citizen of the year is truly a gifted individual with a wonderful sense of humor and a great attitude toward life. And on those merits, we went ahead and picked you. No, there's a little more. Born and raised in Fairfield, this person is a community treasure. With expertise in so many areas, he's constantly called upon for facts, educated opinion, colorful anecdotes, and his vast store of knowledge. He graduated the University of Iowa and has done graduate work at UNI. He's been an elementary school teacher in the Fairfield schools for at least 10 years, another 12 at the high school, several more in special education, for a total teaching career spanning over 30 years here. So this teacher is not only deeply involved with his community, he usually gets his students involved as well. The spectacular Trails Railroad Bridge project, including tiles made by FHS art students depicting Loudon machinery equipment, the senior citizen mural, the Lord's Cupboard sign, repairing Christmas figurines for the town square, even repairing or repainting the Lions Club mascot, creating a wall of honor for FHS, designing the newest banners hanging in downtown, work on endless fax sets, props for school plays, again, often using, if not always, lots of student participation. The nurturing students' creative skills comes easily. Results are everywhere. Their participation in local art walks, regional and state art exhibits, and competitions. This never-ending list got this man selected Fairfield's Teacher of the Year just 2 years ago, nominated by colleagues, students, and community members. This person is said to befriend everyone and has been called fun-loving, carefree, and even goofy by his students enrolled in FHS art classes. Some have said they might have dropped out of school if it wasn't for this teacher. He is junior class sponsor and has shared in the prom plans for many years. He teaches a new class, digital photography, and had students create a display that is at the Iowa Events Center Hall of Pride in Des Moines. Always displaying an exceptional art talent, he has studied in Venice, Italy, and was a founding member of the Fairfield Art Association in 1966. He has been actively involved in the 40-year-old organization, serving as vice president, instructing many art classes, art camps, and moderating exhibit openings with guest artists. You could call this man Mr. History. He says, "I like old things and I like seeing them preserved." He works very hard for the Jefferson County Museum Board and recently helped establish a new display for the Old Brown Pharmacy. His constant pursuit of Loudon Barns history and memorabilia stretches across the country and has a life of its own. He gets letters, phone calls, and emails from people all over needing historical information or advice. The Jefferson County supervisors have called on his expertise for restoration products such as the courthouse steeple. If you have a question on any architectural matter, in Fairfield call this man. Tying together his love of art and history and Fairfield, our man has written several books illustrating our town, including Fairfield at the Turn of the Century, all outstanding documentaries to educate generations to come. Currently chairman of the Jefferson County Preservation Commission, he has dedicated himself to restoring the Bonneville cabin along with other individuals. He has contributed to Marsden Barn projects and archaeological assistance to the Jefferson County Civic Center site. Important documentation of the Barhide Chapel was captured with his expertise on camera. Last year, he was deeply involved with trying to get Fairfield named Great Places of Iowa. He has contributed to the website for the Jefferson County Trails and has taught religious education classes at St. Mary's and St. Joseph's Church and is a member of Knights of Columbus. Flashing back to his childhood, where our honoree developed polio and that was nearly lethal several times. This constant struggle and adversity seems to have lifted this young man to a higher level. His parents are Keith and Mary Evelyn Schaefer. He and his three brothers, Herb, Lynn, and Alan, all grew up on a farm northwest of Fairfield. In 1972, he married Susan Anderson, and they live on West Washington in a home surrounded with history. So, a walking storehouse of things worth knowing, a passionate historian of Fairfield, an engaging and committed teacher, a talented artist, and my 30-year friend and neighbor, our 2006 Co-Citizen of the Year, Mark Schaefer.
Right off at the bat, I noticed that the museum was not on the program as I had understood it would be. I thought the museum was going to be recognized for the new Brown Pharmacy exhibit. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to have to get a note from Bob Moore or Bob Phipps or somebody to give to my principal to explain why I ducked out of parent-teacher conferences early tonight. So, gosh, thank you very much. This is very much a surprise. And I have to, give credit, once again, like I did when I got Teacher of the Year. Susan, my wife, she makes it happen for me. She takes care of me so that I can make the most of the time I have, because I don't have as much energy as some people do. But she keeps me on track, make sure I get enough rest and so forth. But golly, it's so funny because I said, Susan, I can't leave parent-teacher conferences. I mean, they're not going to let me go. So anyway, she nagged me into it. So I might not have been here otherwise. But thanks a lot, folks. This is an absolute, I just wasn't expecting it. So thanks again.
Mark, I think your principal's here to have a talk with you. Well, what a great way to wrap up a great evening. Congratulations to everyone who's been recognized for their achievements the past year. That's why this evening is such a treat. You may think that, well, anybody that knows Fairfield doesn't think this, but you might think there's not that much good going on. Hey, that's not the way it is here. We're glad to be reminded of all the good things we've got going on in our community. Now, Bob, he's been, It's really not, I don't know why he's not the master of ceremonies. All he does is tell me what to do and to hurry up and slow down. But anyway, he insisted that I make this announcement. No, anybody that received an award tonight, hang around up here, don't run off. We want to take your pictures so that you can be in the newspaper next year. Well, maybe a little sooner. So if you received an award, come up to the front of the room here so you can have your picture taken. And my favorite niece, Emily, asked me to announce, no, she didn't ask me, Steve Smith put me up to it. She's receiving pledges for the Polar Bear Plunge. So line up in the rear of the room there and get your, to help out the Fairfield Park and Rec Department. And with that, I'm going to thank you all for being here tonight, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next year, and good luck in the coming year.
Thank you, Jim Pedrick.